Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to another review. The game we're reviewing today is Neva. This is a game that I wanted to play for over a year now. I first saw it when it got nominated for something at the Game Awards in 2024, and the cover for the game looked kind of cool, so I thought, oh, you know what, let's check this game out, see what it's all about. And so I did, and I wanted to play it, but lots of other games happened, and then I kind of forgot about the game, and it so happened that I've only played it now. But I'm ready to give you guys my review of it now. So, yeah, let's just get into it. As always, we'll be splitting the review into a spoiler-free part and then a spoiler-full part, and both of these parts will be split into 4 subparts concerning gameplay, visuals, story, and soundtrack. As always. So, spoiler-free part starts now. You're already seeing gameplay of, you guessed it, Brotato. Yeah, Brotato's become my go-to game for for background footage for these kinds of reviews. I know, maybe you guys are getting tired of it, but I could try to record something else for the next review just to keep it more varied. Anyway, we're not playing any footage from Neva here, so let's get into the spoiler-free review. Starting with the gameplay. So I think the gameplay is fine. It's not very deep. It's really kind of simple. So the gameplay in Neva revolves around combat and platforming, with some puzzles as well. And overall, it is good. I don't think the combat is, and the gameplay overall is bad. The worst thing you can say about it is that it's kind of slow, but that definitely didn't ruin my enjoyment of the game. It's definitely not a fast-paced game, that's for sure. Yeah. It is a little bit slow, and that bothered me sometimes, but it was never it never made the game unenjoyable. I think overall still is fun, even though it is not like a lightning fast game where you'll be dealing 100 attacks per second and doing 50 backflips whilst also fighting 100 enemies at the same time. No, it's pretty slow. But it's cool. The combat and the platforming both feel pretty good. Nothing really to complain about other than maybe it being a little slow. So yeah. When it comes to its mechanics, they are quite, let's say, basic. There isn't any, there's no builds, there's no upgrades. It's just you, your sword, and the enemy. And you have a dodge move too. So that's it. It's, yeah, very simple. If you're looking for a game with a deeper combat system, this is probably not the right pick. But if you don't mind a game that's maybe a little simpler, maybe if, creating builds is too overwhelming for you, then I think this is a combat system that you'll probably enjoy. Yeah. So when it comes to the difficulty of the game, it is actually harder than I expected. This game is actually pretty tough at times. It's not as hard as Silk Song, but it is pretty tough at times. There were a few boss fights where I actually had to put in some effort not to die. It is actually somewhat challenging. but I do think it's well balanced. Like it's not, like I said, overly difficult. It does have like an enjoyable difficulty level, but it is a little hard. Yeah. Another thing, which I probably should have said earlier, the length of the game. It's extremely short. That's probably the biggest quote unquote problem of the game is how incredibly short it is. Like this, I beat this game in under 3 hours. It's super short. That's probably why it doesn't have any sort of like deep mechanics, because there just wasn't enough game to do that. So, another thing that I really want to shout out in particular in regards to the combat, uh, even in the spoiler-free part, is that the enemies don't deal any contact damage. That I think is incredible. You know how when you're playing Hollow Knight, you'll be taking more damage from accidentally walking into an enemy's ass than from actual attacks. And this doesn't happen in Neva. It's really cool that enemies only damage you when they're actually attacking. If you accidentally walk into an enemy, you don't take damage. Aside from a few unique enemies, but that's but for the most part you don't take contact damage when walking into enemies, which I appreciate a lot. So yeah, that's about it for the combat. The platforming I've already mentioned briefly. It actually does have some fun mechanics, which I don't want to spoil. I'll save that for the spoilerful part. But the platforming is fine. It's not like it's definitely not a Path of Pain level acrobatics, but there were some platforming sections which I thought were very enjoyable and had some cool, unique mechanics to them. Right. So let's move on to the visuals. They are definitely the strong suit of the game. Like, this game just looks incredible. It has such a cool art style. It's so vibrant, it's so colorful, and it has such scale to it. Like, there are so many sections in this game where the camera like pans out really far and you get this huge view of the whole scene. It's it's a very cool looking game. The art style is definitely the best part about it. It's super nice looking. Very pretty. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's about it for the art style. It's just really good. They did a great job. Whoever painted all of those scenes, I wanna meet you and shake your hand. So yeah, let's move on to the story of the game. So, the story follows your main character, who I don't think has a name, and her dog friend Neva, who are living in this peaceful world until one day some nasty, dark corruption shows up and starts ruining everything, making life miserable for everybody, and the two of them are fighting back against this corruption. It's simple. It's it's a enjoyable story. Now, there are some very specific complaints that I have about it, but I'll save those for the spoilerful part. Overall, I definitely did enjoy the story. It's an unwritten rule of storytelling that if your story has a dog, it sort of automatically becomes more interesting, at least for me. And then the last point on the spoiler-free part is the soundtrack. I don't actually have much to say about the soundtrack. I must say, it's basically the exact type of soundtrack that you probably expect for this game when you see the cover. So it's like really, it's like really soft, very like moody, somewhat sad at times. It uses a lot of piano, so it is pretty much the exact type of soundtrack you expect for this type of game. And it's good. Like, I don't have much to say about it. I must say, I don't really remember the soundtrack past the main theme. So, yeah, the soundtrack didn't blow me away, but it is, like, good. It's fine, it's good. Alright, moving on, we have the spoilerful part. So, big spoiler warning, entering spoilerful part now. Here we are. So, for the gameplay, I do want to shout out some particular mechanics. So for the combat, as I've said, you only have your sword and you also have a special attack where you can command your dog to hold down an enemy for a while, and then you get you get some free hits in. So yeah, not too. That's literally all the combat is. But like as I said, it still was fun. And in a game this short, you couldn't really have any sort of like deeper mechanics. Uh, then the platforming, I think, actually had some really cool mechanics. There were a lot of really basic ones, like hitting platforms to activate them or breakable blocks and stuff like that. But there was one part in particular where there was this mirror and you had to look in the reflection to see where the next platform is. And that was a really cool section. It was super trippy, but in like a really enjoyable way. I do have to shout out that part in particular. I really liked the mirror section. It was very, very cool. For the visuals, I don't have anything to say or that I haven't already mentioned. Yeah, the game just looks super good. I can't even think of like a particular area that I really there might be one section. There was this part where your character gets like dragged into hell, pretty much, and that part just looked incredible. You had all these corrupt. You had this one room where there were these like evil like hands stretching out from the sides of the screen. It looked super nice. But as I said, everything in this game looks incredible. Every single location, every single scene, the game just looks amazing. Yeah. For the story, there are some, significant things that significant. They're not significant. I meant to say specific things that I took some issue with because yeah, the story is very simple. You have your character and your dog, and they're fighting this evil corruption. And there are just a few things that I didn't like. So first of all, that section that I referred to with the hell, which was probably my favorite part of the game. Now you're just making your way around, and then suddenly the corruption just drags you down into hell pretty much, and then you have to fight your way through an environment that's like entirely made up of this corruption, and at the end you have to fight your deceased dog because there was another dog I forgot to mention because at the start of the game your character has two dogs and the first dog dies and then it's just you and the other dog, Neva. So in the hell part you have to fight a corrupted version of your deceased dog, which I thought was super cool. And there's this one shot in particular. Fuck, we're at the story part and I'm talking about the visuals. Well, whatever. The visuals are often an integral part of the storytelling. So there's this one shot in particular where like you're climbing up this big heap of those corrupted creatures. And your dog, the corrupted dog, is like towering over the whole scene. It looks really, really creepy and really, really cool. So yeah. And what I didn't like about that part is that when it ended, it turns out it was all a dream that the main character had, which is lame and it's stupid because I was so into like being in hell and rooting out the corruption at its very core and fighting my own dog. It was really, really intense. And then it turns out none of it was real. Your character fell asleep and had a nightmare, and that was the whole sequence. So I didn't like that. I, I'm pretty sure most people don't like it when a cool part turns out to be a dream or an illusion or whatever. That's always just leaves a kind of sour taste in your mouth. And then another story detail which I didn't quite understand is at one point, towards the end of the game, when Neva is fully grown up, she finds herself a second dog, and they make a new baby dog, right? But then the other dog, Neva's partner, just doesn't show up ever again. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm just lacking some fundamental dog knowledge. Maybe that's how it works in the animal kingdom, that just they make the baby and then they part ways and never look at each other again. But I don't know, it did seem kind of stupid because when you first run into the other dog, he like helps you out. He helps you fight the bad guys, and there's this cool scene where Neva and the other dog are fighting the corruption together. And then after they get together, then the other dog just disappears forever, and he never shows up again, which I thought was a bit of a shame. I would have liked to see more of him. But yeah, maybe I just don't know how it works among dogs. I'm not an expert. And the soundtrack, I got nothing else to say. Like I said, the only the only part of the soundtrack that I still remember is the main theme. Other than that, I didn't pay too much attention to it, but it is a good soundtrack. Definitely not bad. Right, so that's my review of Neva. Overall, a very nice, albeit super short experience. I do like it a lot. So, if this game is ever on sale, I do recommend grabbing it. You can play it in one, you can finish it in one afternoon. It's a very, very fun experience. So, yeah, that's about it for this review, and I'll see you guys whenever I see you.